Hello,
Hi.
my name is Seamus Green.
That's nice.
I think that I have some independent work to do.
You might.
No worries, I can help with that. You just have to go and sign up for this single credit class.
I do?
Which we'll tell you about it now.
Okay.
We're reviewing 4 comedic musicals today.
All right.
They're all from the 2000s on.
Modern.
One was really truly thought of only yesterday, kind of.
What?
There's one about us Mormon guys.
Okay.
It was developed by the people who have sticks of truth.
South Park.
And then they scouted one more guy who was the author of a play of a street that does not exist.
Huh?
That's called
What?
a fictional story.
Oh.
But it's based on Sesame Street, which is very real.
Very real.
The street is called Avenue Q.
Queer.
And it talks about what life is kind of like today.
It does?
What life is like, huh? Looking at news today is bleak, unprecedented, scary, never done before.
Never done before.
But wait.
It's 2026.
It is. Now there's more musicals out there. Yeah, there's so much more.
So many.
In 25, we got Celine Dion.
Titanic.
But our time budget kind of ran a bit dry. That sucks.
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't have her.
Who?
But we have Anne Frank.
Oh, we do?
Or is it Anita? I don't know, but I know that it's Anne Frank. I know that it's Anne Frank. I know that it's Anne Frank. Hi, I'm Madeline Ashton, hit award-winning character from the hit Tony Award-winning musical Death Becomes Her. Can we talk a little bit about me, too? No, Madeline. We have to talk about who created you. You remember Noel, right? The guy who wrote all your songs with Julia. We talked to him, and he said, "You're great, Madeline." So now, what will we talk about?
I don't know.
Well, we're gonna talk about comedic shows today.
Okay.
Two from the double O's, 2 from the mid-20s.
That's sweet.
And then we will compare them by using comedic device, and ticket sales, and world current events, and events that impacted people closer to home, which is the States. But disregard that now, because Seamus Green is here to break these 4 shows down. These 4 shows down. These 4 shows down. These 4 shows down. Death Becomes Her, Book of Mormon, Avenue Q.
You guys sound like poop.
Slam Frank.
Avenue Q takes
Now
place
that
on a
you've gotten the
street
main
called-
idea of what I
You
want
guessed
to
it,
discuss,
Avenue
let's do a
Q.
brief synopsis of the
Oh,
show before we dive the life of
in-depth
recent
graduate with a
comedic
BA in
explore.
English. Let's go chronologically for ease of
Princeton,
mind through his troubles
which
in life
starts
moments
us
on
off
Avenue
with
Q.
Avenue Q.
We've got a good little bunch of diversity here over on Avenue Q. We've got Brian, an unemployed Jewish comedian, and his wife, named Christmas Eve, yes. A Chinese therapist with no clients at the start of the show, but that changes after Rob, fellow Avenue Qer, kicks out roommate Nikki for calling Rob gay, whom Rob has a closeted and hard-to-contain crush on. Rob's feelings needing to be spoken about gives Christmas Eve her first true client. Hooray! Or should I say, happy holidays! There's also 2 monsters that live on Avenue Q. Kate Monster and Trekkie Monster. Kate Monster is a girl monster who aspires to open a school for monsters by monsters, which, believe it or not, does happen at the very end of the show thanks to the fundraising efforts of Princeton, who at this point in the show has irreparably damaged Kate's psyche, and an anonymous to Kate donation of $10 million from Trekkie Monster, who got his money from investing in the porn industry. There's also the other monster who lives on Avenue Q, who's also a pervert, and also likes porn recreationally, as well as financially. Regardless, the next show is The Book of Mormon, written by one of the guys who wrote Avenue Q, Robert Lopez, and in tandem with the creators of South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. This musical all begins at the Mormon Missionary Training Center in Salt Lake City, Utah, where the elders who are just so very shy of going on their missions are training to be the best Mormons they can be. Then, the big day comes. They get their mission itineraries and destinations, and they set sail, or fly, to Uganda. Elder Price, the first elder you see in the show, and Elder Cunningham, a perpetual liar if you ask his parents, but a fervent storyteller if you ask me, are paired together. There, they begin their mission on the ground in Uganda. They find out there that there's no healthcare, no willing converts, and most importantly, no faith in God, and there's also lots of civil war. Their first song of the Ugandans, Hasadiga Ibawai, is a denouncement of their faith in God. Their general of the Ugandan army then comes and threatens to forcibly cut off all clitori? whatever the plural of clitoris is. Anyway, the tribe leader Mafala's daughter, Nabulungi, finds the Mormons quite fascinating and believes that their teachings might be the key to stopping the general's imminent threat. By listening to the scripture that is partially contaminated with sci-fi references due to Elder Cunningham's teaching methods, making shit up with the blessing of George Lucas, the tribespeople subdue and subsequently convert the general to Mormonism. Yay! The tribespeople, to show their appreciation, make a one-act stage play of Elder Cunningham's teachings, Star Trek references and all, to the Mormon Church of Latter-day Saints president, who then promptly strips the Mormons in this district of the right to their mission through the Mormon Church. But that little obstacle wouldn't stop the people of Uganda from honoring their newfound faith by continuing the cycle and becoming missionaries themselves. And as both of these shows lean into very trope-like elements of comedy, there's stigma and calls for action towards these shows in response to real-world events that impacted communities that are represented within these shows. As the world changes, comedy is a medium that requires itself to keep up. A joke that might have punched up 10 years ago can now brutally beat down on an audience, and a joke that might have punched down 10 years ago with a modern context might now punch up. A good example of this is in Legally Blonde the Musical. Shout out SUNY New Paltz, Main Stage Theater Department 2026. The original script of Legally Blonde the Musical has Callahan stating to Enid Hoops during Blood in the Water, "Oh, you lesbians think you're so smart," which I believe lands better today than the rewrite of, "Oh, and I'm sure he would love being defended by a lumpy feminist." I think gay people in America today are more apt to laugh at the former rather than the latter. And that kind of minute shift is something that can leave a lasting impact on a patron in a theater, or a cast member, or a creative team. Which is why it is so important to keep tabs on the pulse of the present day, as this shift in comedy is something that is relevant to every show that walks a fine, fine line with it. See what I did there? Sometimes, though, rewrites are necessary. Thankfully, though, our biggest culprit of needing a rewrite, the Book of Mormon, received a much-needed rewrite. The authors of the Book of Mormon let the cast and company know they were open to rewrites following a letter addressed to them from the black people of the company of the show. This letter was sent after the police department of Minneapolis brutally murdered George Floyd on May 20th, 2020. The company asked that the script be revised to better uplift the humanity of black people rather than degrade them, which unfortunately, in my opinion, the show still does inherently. Actually, I'm gonna say it. I think the Book of Mormon is racist. Racist as HE double hockey sticks. I don't think it's a good show for that reason either. But this video is not about my opinion, but rather about the facts that I found in my research. Thankfully, the authors listened, and the script was rewritten before the reopening of Broadway in early November of 2021, albeit the show itself still remains drowned in a misogyny and a scale of racism ranging from implicit biases to hurtful stereotypes that are in no way true or representative of the Ugandan people. The conversation regarding Avenue Q's rewrite starts to get a little muddier to me, because the people calling for Avenue Q to be rewritten are generally calling for the stereotypes to be removed. The show wouldn't work without them, though. And this leads us to the big difference I acknowledge between these shows. Avenue Q acknowledges the stereotypes it uses and uses those stereotypes in order to foster unity within the community of the show. The prime example being the song "Everybody's a Little Bit Racist," acknowledging these implicit biases. The Book of Mormon uses these stereotypes in a way that still feels stereotypical and in a way upholding white supremacy, which is not something the theater or the world really needs to be doing whatsoever nowadays. But regardless of how you feel about these shows, it is undeniable that these two shows defined comedy and musical theater in the late aughts and early tens of the 21st century. But now, let's jump to a musical that I think will define this decade of musical theater. Death Becomes Her. Death Becomes Her is a staged adaptation of the cult classic movie of the same name. Having a movie as a source material can either spell heaven or hell for a creative team. Luckily enough, I got the chance to speak with Noel Carey, co-writer of the music and lyrics for this show, along with Julia Madison and Marco Panett. I got to ask him some questions about the process of writing the music and the lyrics and the comedy of the show. And I think he can explain it better than I can.
Actually, our book writer's idea. When we came on to the project, she was already renamed Viola. He had done like a draft without songs, kind of just to get the tone of the show down of what he wanted to do. And he chose to start it with her saying the line that's 5 years later starts the show on Broadway, or started the show on Broadway. Dull glowless skin, waddling turkey necks.
I was actually just about
breasts.
to. I was literally. That's my next question. Was who thought to start the show with that? I guess the book writer.
Yeah, we got this draft of the script he had written, and that was the first line. It was the first thing we read, and we laughed out loud. We were like, "Oh, this is it." Gave us the tone right away. It kind of told us what show we would be writing with him. And I also think it was smart of him to start with this character because, the potion's on the poster. We know the
Right.
movie, and we also want to start in a way that's very much not the movie in order to differentiate ourselves. And then the set designers kind of ran with that idea and decided to make the curtain Viola's color and kind of have it bleed into the theater. The book writer just starting with one line of this character kind of set the tone for
Set
the
the
whole
tone
show.
for the whole show and what you guys then later wrote.
Yeah, yeah.
I really want to focus on For the Gays. What was it like writing the that beast of a double entendre of a song?
It was one of the fastest songs we wrote in the show once. Now that said, we had this slot where we knew we wanted to meet Madeline. Years ago, the way we introduced the character, she was singing the In Memoriam for the Oscars, except she was getting jealous of all of the pictures of the dead people upstaging her, behind her. And we liked that because it was like morbid and it was glamorous and it wasn't the movie. But we kind of needed to like Madeline more. In original drafts, we were meeting her in this number where she was kind of like making a display of herself at the Oscars, and it wasn't like the best way to meet this character. And so our director was like, this character is going to fall far, so we need to start her up here. Let's hearken to the movie where she's on Broadway, but let's not do that number because we'll save it for a surprise later. And our director was kind of just like, go off and just think of like what would her musical number be on Broadway that's just like big, glam, and glitzy. And we had all these horrible ideas like Awooga, like a song where just guys had like
Oh yeah, okay.
goggly eyeglasses going on Awooga because she's like so hot or whatever. My writing partner Julia just sent me the title one day where she was like, what about this? And I was like,
There it is.
yeah, and it's one of those things where like, and I hear artists say this all the time, where it's like, I don't feel like we wrote that song. I feel like we just kind of found it. And we were like, is anyone using this double entendre? Nobody? Okay.
Right, nobody? Okay, we'll take it. Julia kind of had that aha moment. Did you have any of those moments at all?
I remember one where we were still auditioning for the show. We went out to LA to like talk to the director, talk to the book writer. On the plane ride back, I had this like melody. I just like sang that into my phone, and we didn't have the job yet. My mind was cooking on just like if we wrote it, what would almost like prepping. Like if we do get this job, we got to hit the ground running. We knew we would have these two women like shine so bright, and we wanted to write a male character that in no way like definitively was like a beta to both of them. We purposefully, like his number in Act One, designers made the choice to bring the curtain down and push him out. So like his first number, he's not even on the set. He's like outside the show. The show's like, get out of here.
The show's happening in front
of him. Yeah, or behind him. Like
yeah.
Set changes, and he's like alone in front of the curtain. In Act Two, we knew we wanted him to have like the biggest number ever and to be so victorious and for no one to see it. It was our director's idea actually to have the paint cans and the globe and the stuff start talking back to him, which was kind of genius because he is talking to these things the whole time. And he also had this thought just practically of like, we're in Act Two of this musical. We've just had Hit Me where Madeline's head gets lopped off by a shovel, and we can't be done with the magic just yet. He wanted to give Ernest just a little sprinkle of magic, because I feel like you see Hit Me, you see all those things happen. You're like, they just went for it. There's nothing left, and so we wanted just a little extra.
I can say that got me because they already have Madeline Ashton falling down the stairs and. The most glorious stunt call probably ever. Helen Sharp gets shot through the stomach. Paul Tazewell, beautiful. No notes. I was basically sitting there saying that it can't get any crazier, right? And then all the lights pop on and the globe starts opening its mouth like this, and I'm just sitting there hollering. Yeah. It was so funny.
I love that it's like how it's being done. Like it's magical, but it's also like that's just a puppet. It's just a big.
Yeah,
like it's simple, but it's still charming.
I feel like it kind of plays into like an aspect of like childhood almost, and like playing with your toys, playing pretend. And it's like I like to think that your childhood is still within you, no matter how old you get, it's still there. And I think
he's a bit of a man child himself.
Yes. And I think I thought that was so awesome. Oh my God.
We wanted to write it out of fun, out of all those things, but like it's actually, if you look at the story, I think it's one of the most necessary numbers in the show. We want to feel like we're sneaking you your vitamins, we're sneaking you the plot and the characters, and you're not even thinking about it. But that biggest problem in the show is these two broken women. How is he going to fix this? And in the movie, we get shots of Ernest actually fixing them, but kind of in a musical, you have to choose.
What you that was kind of impossible.
Well, the women needed to change too.
Yeah.
Right. So there were so many things that needed to happen. The women had to do huge costume changes to get into their glam look. So we needed to fill time that way. But we also need to somehow tell the audience, okay, Ernest is going to use paint and lacquer and clay to fix these women and make them look beautiful, and it's going to work. And then you see them and you're like, oh, it did. Like, because that's one of the craziest parts of the show. Just like, how the hell are they going to fix this? And it's not that realistic either. It's one of the most unrealistic parts of the story, in addition to, walking zombie women. Number kind of was at this like crucial part of the show where we didn't want to lose the audience. And we wanted to just make sure they were on board with us and that
they stayed engaged.
Yeah, and that he actually could solve this problem.
Yeah.
And this is the way he's going to do it. Yeah.
And I think it also kind of like sets up his agency to choose to be like, I actually don't want to take care of you guys for the rest of my life. Like, this was cool for the one time.
I think that's a really good observation that I haven't even put together, of like, he ends that number with a certain confidence that he carries on for the rest of the show
that he just has never had in the beginning. And
right.
I think seeing like an awkward male character always brings me joy on stage.
Very astute in that, like, the song changed his character, right? Which is kind of what that's my goal of a good musical. Like, the songs don't just sound good or don't just do the plot. Like, the characters that sing the songs, but the songs also affect them.
Thank you again to Noel for letting me interview you. If I seemed nervous, it's because I was. Sorry! It's time for the elephant in the room. You may be wondering, what's the elephant? Slam Frank. Slam Frank is described, as per its website, as something that imagines what happens when a progressive theater company asks themselves, did Anne Frank ever acknowledge her white privilege? Applying the rules and tropes of progressive theater to the diary of Anne Frank. Transcending all taste and decency, they transform Anne Frank's true story into an intersectional, multi-ethnic, genderqueer, decolonized, anti-capitalist, hyper-empowering Afro-Latin hip-hop musical. This play within a play is one of the most shocking and talked about theatrical satires to hit off-Broadway in generations. And you, the audience, have the privilege of witnessing it. This information feels like whiplash. It feels so wrong. Why does this exist? The more I looked into this musical, though, the more right it became in my mind as a theater artist. It felt so wrong before, but now it registers so right. Because this show isn't about making Anne Frank a Latinx person or making her lover non-binary, as the Instagram may make it look. It's about making the reader question their beliefs that aren't so black and white. Beliefs that can coexist or completely contrast one another, and finding where you, the individual, fit into that piece. It's a piece that gets you thinking about what it means to be intersectional, what it means to be somewhere that might be crucial and also antithetical to you at the same time, and letting you sit and find solace in that discomfort. In creator Joel Sineski's words from a podcast titled The New York Times, where the creators and creative and team and cast member Alex Lewis were interviewed, Joel Sineski states that Slam Frank is both Jewish and anti-Semitic. Then I watched Avenue Q, and then that quote hit me like a bus, reappearing. It made me think of that one song from Avenue Q that still gets everyone's pants in a twist, everyone's a little bit racist, you know? Because at its core, that song is about implicit biases and coming together to acknowledge their existence and to work towards a world where those implicit biases don't have to drive us apart, but can instead bring us together. And Slam Frank kind of does this acknowledgement on a bigger scale through their Instagram, in which they state that it's its own performance art, separate from the show. The creators of this show have set up this Instagram to get you mad enough to be curious about the show, to say to yourself, I have to go see whatever the hell this is about. It sounds fucking nuts. And then giving you a show that gives you more to think about than you ever thought an Afro-Latin hip-hop musical about the diary of Anne Frank could ever give you. And that's what the theater is about. That's what it is. It's about questioning, being curious in your day-to-day, about seeing things that might make you ponder if you really have it all figured out, just like Princeton and Avenue Q. But the theater in modern times, at least in America, is a place where the people who can afford tickets get an escape from the harsh reality we face in America today. And I think that's partially why Slam Frank has people who are so angry at it. It's because it makes those audience members who pay for a temporary 2-hour checkout from reality, they're being forced to confront the reality that they paid to leave at the door. And that is the supreme satire of Slam Frank. They want you confused enough at home to buy a ticket, and then they want you to leave the theater in a larger state of confusion instead of catharsis, like every other musical on Broadway or off-Broadway right now. That's what makes Slam Frank genius. They don't want you to change your mind. They want you to question it, which is something I believe we could all do a little more of nowadays.
Hi there. If you're watching this, it means you made it to the end. It means you're either my instructor, a close friend who I shared the video with, or you're a stranger who happened to stumble upon my video. Either way, thank you for watching. If you want more videos like this, you're probably not going to get them. Sorry. Bye, guys. And special thanks to Walker Goodemote, who this video would not be possible without. Thank you for lending me your tripod, time, and a couple of your lamps. I appreciate it very much.